Welcome to C2 CRM development. In this lesson, develop the form of the list, group and item of catalog in Visual Studio. Bind data to form controls. Find out about the required fields. Learn about multi-user data modification. Catalog organization. In the project structure, add a folder for the forms of the organization catalog. Add the form of the catalog list. Change base class of list form. Add components to the list form. Label for form title. Button from library C1. Organization catalog is hierarchical. On the form, let's create a catalog view for the folders on the left, for the list on the right. To be able to resize the tree and the list, the C1 sizer component will be used. The tag value is required for the program to remember the mesh size of the C1 sizer component. Fill in. Catalog tree. Catalog list. Command control panel. Bind the list to the tree. Bind the command panel to the catalog list. When open the form, let's make the list of the catalog active. Initialize the columns of the catalog to display them on the form. Take the names of the columns from the model. When changing the names of fields in the model, i.e. in the database, at the compilation stage we find the names to change. Column with code. Column with description. Address. Phone. The name of the schema to which the catalog belongs. Catalog name. Catalog tree. To perform data binding in a separate method, which is provided by the form of the catalog list. In case of an error, during data binding, such a construction allows you to display a service message and close the list form. Add information about the form to the infobase configuration. For the organization catalog, add a form name and set it as a list form and an item selection form. Add a list form to the program menu. Save the changes. Update the system managers so that the program can find the list form. Run the program to check the form of the list. Add a group form. Change the base class of the form of the catalog group. Add a constructor with a parameter. Add components to the form of the catalog group. Buttons from C1 library. C2 text box from C2 library. This text field reads the parameters from the infobase and can change its state, for example, checking the need to fill in a value. Let's perform data binding. In the forms of groups and items, the data is in C2 current item. Add information about the form to the infobase configuration. For the organization catalog, add the name of the form and set it as a folder form. Update the information base and program managers. Run the program to check the group form. Add the form of the catalog item. Add a new form. Change the base class of the form of the catalog item. Add a constructor with a parameter. Add components to the form of the catalog item. Buttons from C1 library. The form will represent the main parameters of the catalog element, as well as the subordinate directory of cache registers. To split the view, we will use the C2 docking tab component from the C1 library. The page with the main attributes of the catalog element. Address. Phone. Email. VAT type. Use the C2 applied text box component from the C2 library. VAT rate. Use the C2 numeric edit component from the C2 library. Main currency. C2 applied text box component. Add a page to represent the organization's cash registers. Add the C2 catalog table list component from the C2 library. Command Control Panel of Catalog. In the property of the command panel C2 action source, specify the catalog list. Bind the form components to the data in C2 current item. Description. Address. Phone. Email. Enum value VAT type. Decimal value VAT. Catalog value main currency. Subordinate catalog of cash registers. Columns code and description. The name of the schema to which the catalog belongs, and the name of the catalog. Catalog owner. Data binding. The method calls from parameters from onload equals true. In case of an error during data binding, a service error message will be displayed, and the form itself will not be closed. Add information about the form to the infobase configuration. For the organization catalog, add the name of the form, and set it as an element form. Update the information base and program managers. Run the program to check the form of the element. Fields specified as required in the configuration have red shading. The form of the subordinate catalog of cash registers has not been developed. Will develop. In the project structure, add a folder for the cash registers catalog forms. Add a new form. Change the base class of the form of the catalog item. Add a constructor with a parameter. Add components to the form of the catalog item. C2 text box from C2 library. Buttons from C1 library. Bind the form components to the data in C2 current item. Add information about the form to the infobase configuration. For the cash register catalog, let's add the name of the form and set it as the elements form. Update the information base and program managers. Run the program to check the form of the element. Let's open the form of the organization's catalog element and add several cash registers. Let's expand the form of the list, add the output of the rest of the catalog fields. Add VAT and main currency columns to the component of the catalog table. Launch the program, check the form of the list. There are new columns. Let's change their values. At the configuration level, it is possible to set the status to the field as required. In this case, the program will monitor these fields with the output of appropriate messages when writing configuration objects, catalogs, documents. Fields required for filling have red shading. This characteristic is set for a field in the configuration. Fill check with value display error. When writing a catalog element with an empty field, a service message is displayed. For the experiment, we will make the address field mandatory and check the behavior of the program. In the configuration, for the fill check attribute, change the value to display error. Update the information base, managers and model of the program. Designer has created additional resources with system messages, but access to them can only be set in Visual Studio. Open the resource file and change the modifier to no code generation, and then to internal. Launch the program and check the behavior of the form of the organizational catalog item. The address field now has a red shading, and when you try to write with an empty address field, a service message is displayed. The program also controls the length of the fields in characters. Change the length of the address field. Run the program. If the length is greater than the allowable value, a service message is displayed. When working in multi-user mode, while changing the same data, the program monitors and warns the user about the possibility of data loss. The version field is provided to control data changes in the tables of applied objects. The database will change it automatically when the data of the table row changes. Let's open the second copy of the program. In both programs, let's open a form for the same element of the catalog. In the first program, change the description of the object and write it down. In the second program, change the description of the same object and click on the OK button. The program will display a message that the data of the current object in the database has changed since the time the form was opened. The user then decides for himself whether to write the item or close it without changing. In this lesson we developed forms of the catalogs in Visual Studio. Find out about required fields. Find out about multi-user data modification. Thank you and see you in lessons.